Hello everybody. Today I have a crucial question because now when I see the CNN, it says Trump is not looking for a deal with the EU after tariff threat, and China says on my last video I said you about the China says the Trump had banned Harvard ban will tarnish. China says Trump Harvard ban will tarnish the US image of as students caught in the crosshairs, right? So now I have another question, right? When I ask you, not today, today it says international federal judge grants Harvard restraining the order against the Trump administration. Now when I ask Germany, my friend Germany, you know about the Germany, right? So I asked Trump versus Harvard University what's the latest, right? The latest development in the clash between the Germany says the latest development between the Donald Trump, the US president, and the Harvard University is a federal judge temporarily blocking of the Trump's administration to prevent the Harvard from the enrolling international students. So that's the latest, and he segregated this thing, and he said that this ruling issued on federal government in Friday, 23rd of May 2025, came just hours after Harvard filed a lawsuit in response to the Department of Homeland Security DHS decisions to revoke Harvard's certification in the Standards Exchange Visitors Program. I'm telling you something. Trump tried to revoke and Trump tried to prevent the US, and Trump is trying to give the best interest to the US economy into the future, but unfortunately Harvard and the other people do not understand about this, right? This is how it goes, and the SCVP, like the Student and Exchange Visitors Program, SCVP certification is essential for universities to host international students, F1 and J1 visas, right? So Trump will fight back, I'm sure. And the key points of the recent events: Thursday, May 22 of 2025, Trump administration through DHS Secretary of Kristi Young announced the revocation of Harvard's SEVP certification. This move would have been buried the Harvard from the enrolling new international students in 2025 and 2026 academic year, and it will be would have been required the current international students to transfer to other institutions or leave from the country. So that's how it says. In 2025 May, Harvard University filed the lawsuits in the federal court in Boston, arguing that the administration action was unlawful and blatant violation of the First Amendment and due process clause, and an act of retaliation for Harvard refusal to comply with the government demands. Look at, if it happens to our country, what will happen, right? Government decision is a government decision, so we have to respect for that. So regarding the academic independence, curriculum, and the policies related to the antisemitism, also viewpoint of the diversity. There is antisemitism in Harvard University. Bravely, I can say it. Okay. In Friday in 2025, May 20th, 23rd. So U.S. District Judge Alison Bruce issued a warning, right, and temporary restraining on order blocking the Trump's administration decisions, and the order provides temporary relief to nearly 6,800 international students at Harvard of forced immediate uncertainty, right? So if you see the background and the broader context of the distribution, dispute of these matters, and actually the Trump administration has been escalating to its pressure on Harvard and its other elite universities, accusing them fostering anti-Semitism and pro-Hamas activism on the campus. That's number one. And filing to address anti-Semitism, right? And the change hearing of the admissions practices, and also promoting discriminatory diversity and equity and also inclusion of DEI policies, right? DEI means diversity, E means equity, and I means inclusion policies, right? So having alleged ties of the Thai Chinese institutions, there is no direct evidence has been publicly presented, but they are raw, right? They are raw, because Chinese government is always trying to put the nose and try to spy of the American great universities, right? Refusing to comply with the government demands that's unlawful. That's creating great chaos, right? And also government demands has been created by the university authorities, our university authorities. So information including the disciplinary records and international students and the audio video footage of illegal and dangerous activities, right? They say like this. The prior of the latest action, the Trump administration had already frozen and cancelled of millions of dollars federal grants on contracts to the Harvard. That's number one. That's a good thing what he did, right? And they threatened to remove the Harvard's tax exempt status also. And Harvard in return has consistently denied the allegations, and non-compliance has framed the administration actions as an attempt to exert an illegal assertion, right, to control over our curriculum and our faculty into our students' body, right? What's next? And the hearing is issued by the 29th. Hearing is scheduled 29th in Boston to consider the further step in case, and including whether to issue a preliminary injunction, right? So legal experts suggest that Harvard has a strong legal case, and the federal courts in the Massachusetts have consistently ruled against the Trump's administration and previous disputes, right? However, the ultimate outcome, if the case reaches to U.S. Supreme Court, and the less predictable. So we cannot say what will happen in the future. Actually, maybe Trump is correct, because without the Sudha people, we could say in the English people, the British people, once in a while, I mean, a long time ago, once upon a time they were ruling our country in Sri Lanka. We said the Sudha people means the white people, right? My mama says in early 70s, she said that at that time, fortunately, we had not been colonized. We got the full independence and the governance from the British government. And at that time, it's a Sri Lanka versus sovereign country, same like now. So at that time, my mama says, there is no smoke rising up without a fire, right? So it's all British proverb. So it is thousands of years of all British proverbs. She is overwhelmingly used to tell me. So in the use when our Altama, the schooling matters also, she's saying when I want something, right? So in the border conflicts, if you see the highlights of the significant battle of the academic freedom and the immigration policy and the role of the government in influencing the private education institutions. So I asked Oki from the Gemini. I asked because she's artificial intelligence, so AI framework and AI model. So, okay, if the federal judge temporarily blocking the Trump decision, it means the Trump cannot go beyond bypassing the federal judge. It means the presidential power cannot, he cannot use the presidential power. So she asked me, she said me, the Gemini, she said me, you are hit a crucial point about the American system of the government. Okay, the president cannot unilaterally bypass the federal judge's ruling. So it means to say that, like for example, like this is a fundamental question, fundamental aspect of the separation of the powers and the checks and the balances of you can say like enriching like enhancement, like you can say the two parties colliding with each other, rebelling with each other, fighting with each other, like a war, like a legal battle, you can say. Two parties enriched. It is written in the Constitution, constant in the Constitution. So here why. Let me break you some alternations, some of the points. Judicial law in USA, the Supreme Court in the landmark case of Marbury and Madison's time, and 1803 established the principle of judicial review. It means the federal courts, including the district courts, where the judge in the Harvard cases and throughout the country have authority to review the actions of the executive branch, including the president and the federal agencies, and the legislative branch, Congress, to determine if they are constitutional and consistent with existing laws. Right? One can make a new law as well. So rule of the law in the US, rule of the law will dictates that everyone, including the presidents, and law is on the top, right? And is subject to the law of court orders. The court orders such a temporarily restraining order or a preliminary judicial injunctions. Here has a force of law, it must be obeyed. So consequences and disobeying the court orders, if a president or anybody, their administrations were outright ignore the federal court order, it would lead to several constitutional crises. The judiciary has several tools to enforce the ruling, including the contempt of court and public opinion, political pressure. For example, while not a direct legal enforcement of rule, and the public opinion can be, they can protest. Political pressure would be immense if a president like other countries, like other democratic countries, were defy a court order, that the court lead to impeachment hearing, proceeding to a significant loss of political capital, like Israel, right? The judge can hold individuals, entities, and including the government official, including the President of the United States, including the Secretary of Defense, Secretary of States, and all the other departments, right? Including military leaders. So the contempt of the court is failing to comply with an order. So this can lead to fines, sanctions, and in extreme cases even jail. Sometimes in the official, we can say we heard about it. Put your camera down, please. He's videoing me. Bloody fucker, you are videoing me. Look at the guy, right? My student is videoing me without knowing me, because I don't like it at all, you know. This guy, we will make a video of him, and later I call him as a scavenger family. All of his generation have a scavenger face, you know, scavenger. All over the world, people looking at me. right? So I will interview the scavenger next time, right? So appeals of the process is also in US. I was having a hard time with this guy because he's a new person, right? Appeals process. So if you think about the constitution of the USA, appeals process is the proper legal resources for a president who disagrees with the federal judges ruling of the appeals and the decisions to a higher court. In this case, the Trump administration would likely appeal the temporarily blocking orders to the US court to court. If you go to court, I also go to court, right? Like this appeals. So Court of Appeals, the First Circuit, and the potentially to the US Supreme Courts, if they are unsuccessful there, right? So temporary nature. If it is important to note that the current ruling is a temporary restraining order of the preliminary injunction. So it means that they're designed to preserve and the state of quo while the legal claims is fully reviewed. The administration will have the opportunity to present the arguments in court, and the judge will then make more permanent decisions. So while the President Trump has the power to issue the executive orders to the direct federal agencies, his actions are not above the judicial scrutiny, right? The federal judiciary acts crucial check on the presidential power, ensuring that even the highest office adheres to the Constitution and the laws of the land, right? So I asked the question I asked my point actually. So what is the use of the presidential power if at all the possibility to have Trump decision make good for the US future and its people's future? So she said me, you're asking a very insightful question about the balance of power of the US government, and it gets to the heart of why the system designed the way it is, right? It's sure that the federal judge temporarily blocking the presidential decisions can seem too limit to the presidential power, even if the presidential believes the decision is good for the US in the future and its people's future. And however, the limitation is not a flaw in the system. It's a fundamental feature and designed to prevent abuse of the power and to protect the fundamental rights, right? So let us see, check the balance of the preventing tyranny and the executive branch, presidential enforce of laws, and the legislative branch of Congress to make the laws, and judicial branches like courts interprets laws and determines their constitutionally. And the US Constitution was intentionally designed to cracks and the checks and the balances among the three branches of the government, right? So the idea of that is given the branch of some power over the others, no single branch can become too powerful and tyrannical, right? The president could simply bypass the courts of the orders, and they would effectively have unchecked the powers and they make the enforcement of the laws potentially without the regard of the Constitution and the individual liberties, right? So rule of law was the rule by man. In the system based on US Constitution, the rule of law is everyone, including the president, and is subject to the same law and the legal the processes. And this is the distinct from a system of rule by man, where a single leader will a supreme judicial review ensures that the presidential actions are consistent and establish the legal framework. We have to make some of the points like protecting constitutional rights and ensuring legality and the constitutionality, and providing the forum to dispute the resolutions. And what are the use of the presidential power then? Okay, chief executive. Despite of these checks, the president still wields immense power and influence. The presidential is responsible to the day-to-day operations of the federal government, managing numerous departments and agencies. Commander-in-chief, right? He can take the actions, right, against the countries, any enemy like this attacking. The president commands the armed forces with the power of deploying the troops and conduct military operations to the Congress declares for. Like chief diplomat, he is a chief diplomat. The president conducts foreign policy negotiation treaties with the Senate approval, and the represent of the US with the world stage and legislative agenda central. Like the president can propose the legislation and influence Congress, and the veto bills, and the disapproval of through Congress can override the veto, right? And appointments, president nominees federal judges, cabinet members, ambassadors, and the other high-ranking officials with the Senate confirmation, right? Executive orders, like in Sri Lanka, right? The executive orders, the president can issue executive orders, manage the executive branch, which have the force to law and circumstances to build the subject to judicial review and the congressional action. So this is enhanced. The president has the vast power linked to the executive policy that respond the national and international challenges. However, the system requires these powers to exercise within the framework of the constitution and the existing laws. In US, in a country like US, the courts have the guidelines that and every framework ensuring that even well-intentioned decisions do not overstep legal boundaries and infringe on the fundamental rights. So this is the system designed to be robust and prevent any single branch from becoming dominant. This is how. What about our countries? We have the law, but it's into the country, into the books only. Okay, see you then. Adios. Bye bye. Merci, and we will see you another great video.